Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right. State of the Offense Tuesday here on Purple Daily, where we dive into some of the key offensive trends for this team, topics, talkers, one that you guys are going to be very excited about because you've been clamoring for this for a long time, and me too, especially Declan, I feel like. So we'll get to State of the Offense here in a moment, but let me just take a little sip out of my 32-ounce Pepsi Justin Jefferson souvenir cup here. Okay. Fresh. This cup right here is available inside local Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh locations right now. And the beauty of it is there's a QR code on the side. And if you get this cup and you scan the QR code, you can enter to win Victor's Ride, a glorious Vikings-themed Polaris ATV. Last year, Jason from Egan won this thing. They drove it right up to his house, and they gave it to him. Victor was there. CJ Ham was there. The Skull Line. Judd was there.
Invited. They didn't invite me.
Nope. So, Pepsi's also giving away a solo pizza stove and Vikings autograph merch as well. A bunch of you have already sent me pictures of your 32-ounce Pepsi Justin Jefferson souvenir cups. Again, get them inside any Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh locations and tweet your pictures of your souvenir cups to me. Gentlemen, are you ready to talk about the Vikings offense?
I believe the best point differential in the entire National Football League right now.
Yeah, they are.
I also saw a tweet last night that statistically they are at the exact same point differential that the 98 Vikings were 4 games in.
Through 4 games, yeah.
Mm-hmm,
now, the 98 Vikings went on to have the highest scoring offense in NFL history.
They did at the time. I think the Patriots. I think the Rams beat it like the next year, and then the Patriots beat that.
Well, yeah, part of the differential for this team is the defense has been also great. That the 98 offense was, best ever at that point. Mm-hmm. Here's where this Vikings offense ranks in some key categories. Then we will get to the talking points. Points per game. So scoring offense, 4th in the National Football League.
That's good.
Yards per play, 7th. Offensive EPA, 7th. So that's expected points added. We're getting into the analytics here. Offensive DVOA, 12th. Third down conversion rate, 9th. Red zone touchdown rate, 8th. And then turnover rate, still 25th because they had 4 in the first 2 games. So 4th in scoring, and then anywhere between like 7th and 12th in analytics or yards per play. So very solidly a top 10 offense, top 5 scoring offense, which I've got something on that later on as well. But the first talking point out of the 4 that I have here is the screen game. We have been banging on the table for a screen game for years on this show, I feel like. And kind of anecdotally, it always, when you watch the games, it always feel I've never really dug for like detailed statistics until today, by the way. Because it just looks like they have a bad screen game year after year. It's like, they either like have a pass tipped or it gets blown up by a linebacker or something.
They didn't use it.
Yeah, or they just went away from it.
They abandoned it.
So here's the beauty of the screen game this year. The Vikings are 2nd in the NFL in yards per screen pass. 9.1 yards per screen pass this year. Last year, so 9.1 yards per screen pass this year. Last year, 4 yards per screen pass, which was near the bottom of the league. In 2022, by the way, go back another year, it was like 5.8 yards per screen, which was middle of the pack in the NFL, so far better than the last couple of years.
Dalvin probably, yep.
Aaron Jones specifically leads the NFL with 11 catches on screen passes so far this year through 4 games. He's averaging just a tick under 10 yards per catch himself on screen passes this year. And you're wondering, is that like sustainable? Aaron Jones last season with the Packers averaged just under 9 yards per catch on screens. Alexander Mattison was half of that with the Vikings. So as a team and Aaron Jones as an individual, all of the metrics show you that and Dan Orlovsky did a thing on this.
It's really good.
Social media.
The different types of screens as well that they set up. Really
well,
good.
so the last drive of the game, They had, well, not the last drive of the game, but like they get the ball back, 10 minutes to go, down by 6, gotta score here. And the first play out of the gate was Justin Jefferson, just a beautiful like 20-yard gain. Then they dial up a Josh Oliver tight end screen that goes for like 8 or 9 yards.
Yep.
And then and Boone talked about these and broke these down on the Trenches episode. And he talked about I was going on and on about like, God, they're just getting chunked. He's like, it's not even about like the yardage is great. What happens though, when you run these screens successfully or when you run them just competently, it makes the edge rushers hesitate. Because if they get by like if you have a blown rep as your right tackle or something, it plants a seed in the defensive end's head of, why am I getting past him? Is it a screen? And it just sometimes makes them stop for a beat. So screen passes.
And I think it was the first or second one that Orlovsky showed, which you can find the clip on Twitter. It's fantastic. I think that was the one where they actually got Jefferson lined up on a linebacker and the nickel corner stayed in place. So they had sniffed out what the defense was. And then off of that, they ran a screen.
Yeah.
And so there was like Green Bay chaos. But here's the thing with Jones, and this is probably not available, but the thing with Jones is, in my opinion, the only thing better than a good screen pass is a screen pass to a guy who gets yards after contact. Because it's essentially an extension, a lot of times, of the run game, right? So Jones not only is adept at catching those passes, but he also is adept at taking a hit and getting more yards.
Yeah.
So like this is where I love the marriage of the run game and screen game and why it's so important to have a guy like Jones who is not just a guy that can run the ball, but he can catch the ball and then turn back into a running back who can break tackles.
Yeah, it is, man. There's one, I think, I didn't see the whole Orlovsky video. I just saw people retweeting it. But if you guys get a chance, the audience and you guys, last night, it's becoming kind of with Alex Boone's 13-year-old coaching schedule. He's coaching youth football again. So it's hard to find times during the day. So we've kind of just made it, let's just, Monday Night Football, we'll sit down, we'll do Trenches once he gets home. So we're sitting there at 9:30 last night watching the end of Lions and Seahawks while doing Trenches, which is now on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And he broke down both screen passes, the Aaron Jones one early in the game and then the Josh Oliver one. But the Aaron Jones one in particular, they're running like play action concepts off of these. So you think a couple things. A, you think it's a run at first because you've got for instance, like Bradbury and Blake Brandel doubling to a defensive tackle and then up to the second level linebacker. So the linebackers think it's maybe a run up the middle, but then Aaron Jones leaks out off the play action and your tackle Brian O'Neill and Ed Ingram are moving up the sidewalk, so to speak, the numbers, right? So they're layering in like, it looks like this run concept. Nope, it's a play action. Actually, it's a play action into a screen pass, and there's 2 300-pounders 5 yards up with a full head of steam, and it's a thing of beauty.
It's play calling. I think we're seeing this too, and it's probably because Darnold doesn't really have or didn't have a certain stylistic thing of like, I want this play. In fact, I've been told that one of O'Connell's favorite things is what he calls the red pen day, which is when they present the play sheet to the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like a lot of times, Kirk would go through, and O'Connell had no problem with this, but he would line delete plays. He'd be like, I don't want to do this. No. Yeah. It sounds like Darnold goes in and almost says it's all fine. And so because there's no question about this, and this is not even a rip on Kirk.
All you do is rip Kirk.
There is no question.
You can't keep his name out of your mouth for one episode.
No, keep his name out of your mouth is one of my favorite 2020s. I love that. Keep his name. But there is no question that we are seeing more from O'Connell than we've ever seen.
Yes. And there's some plays I'd love to know, like on Darnold, definitely not afraid to take a risk, which is getting him into some trouble with some of these near interceptions and the picks. I mean, you're just going to have to live with the fact that Sam Darnold will live on the edge as a quarterback more than Kirk did.
Yeah.
Which means Kirk probably throws fewer interceptable passes, but does Darnold hunt more down the field and in tight windows? There was a couple throws in that game. The Jefferson touchdown reception, how many quarterbacks? I asked Boone this last night. How many quarterbacks make that throw, or do most of them look at that and say, "Oh, that he's covered"? Like there's literally a defensive back draped all over him.
2018, Lambeau, I believe it was the tie game.
Thielen?
The Thielen catch, Kirk did make that throw, but the Vikings were up against it.
So you have to make the throw.
You have to get points. Right. Yeah. But that was I thought that was the same type of throw. Kirk had the arm talent, but I think if push came to shove, he preferred not to make that pass. Darnold let that thing rip, and it was a great catch. But I mean, I don't think we talked enough about that throw.
Yeah, it is. He's covered. And that is, he literally puts that football right next to the ear hole above the shoulder pad, the right shoulder pad of that defender. And Justin Jefferson didn't see it until it hit his chest. And huge credit to Jefferson, because most receivers, that ball hits their chest and maybe their reflexes aren't good enough to corral it. It bounces off for an incompletion. I think it's fair to say, and we'll get into Sam Darnold stuff here, Kirk was a very, very good quarterback. Sam is a very talented quarterback that we're trying to see if, is this for real for the long term? Sam takes more risks, opens himself up for more mistakes, but also opens up for some bigger plays down the field and in the red zone. Kirk's not going to throw the interception that really shouldn't have been an interception in the corner. And then the one that Sam threw that he lost track of a Packers defender on the sidelines and it bounced off the Packer defender's chest. Kirk doesn't throw that interception, I don't think. So you definitely have a higher floor with Kirk. Darnold's floor is 4 interceptions and he shipwrecks a game and fumbles 3 times.
Right.
But I do think you're seeing why Darnold has such a high ceiling going back to when he was drafted 3rd overall.
And just the evolution too of what he's asking Sam Darnold and just this offense to do and what Aaron Jones brings to the table. So in the first 2 years of KOC, and some of this was with Kirk last year, obviously the Dobbs and the Mullins games happened too, but the pass to rush splits on 1st and 10 for the Vikings. So in 2022, KOC's first year, the Vikings passed the ball on 1st and 10 237 times. That was the second most in the NFL. They ran the ball just 217 times, which was 16th. Last year, they were 9th and 23rd, respectively, in pass to rush plays on 1st and 10. This year, they have ran the ball the 3rd most in the NFL and have passed the ball 31 times, which is 30th in the NFL. So they have schemed their entire offense completely differently. What Aaron Jones gives them is they're literally handing the ball off to a much more effective running back. And then, oh, by the way, the best wide receivers on this team were not going to pass on 1st and 10. You have Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson will come back too. So I think just the evolution of how he has gone from pass, which he did some of that in the second half against Green Bay when the clock should have been managed a little bit better. But I think going into a game, going into a down with having a different style running back has completely changed what KOC prepares for each week.
And that's a great segue into the second talking point here, state of the offense, which is, so you gave us kind of the first down. I'll zoom out and give you his entire play calling style in terms of pass run ratio has changed from the first 2 years. So Declan, you gave those. I'll give you these. So total pass attempts and where the Vikings ranked through 3 years, all downs, all situations. The Vikings were 3rd in pass attempts in the league in 2022. Last year, they were 4th in pass attempts, despite having backup quarterbacks and journeymen for the entire second half of the season. And they were only 5 pass attempts away from being number 1. That's how jumbled the top 4 were. So 3rd and 4th in pass attempts the first 2 years with KOC. This year, 25th in total pass attempts. He's sometimes it does feel like he's all gas, no brakes, even with that 25th ranking, but it's very clear that they are mixing in a lot more running. And then on the flip side, conversely, total rush attempts. Year 1 with KOC, 27th. Year 2, 28th. This year, 11th. So they have become, relative to the league, a more run-centric team. Now, of course, game flow matters. When you're playing in close games or playing from behind more in the last couple of years, you're going to pass more maybe. When you've got these gigantic leads, you're probably going to run the ball more in the second half. So some of this is just game flow related data. But it is an interesting twist in year 3 for KOC.
And, this is something that goes back to the springtime. I mean, they talked about this, and Kevin knew that they had to run more. I mean, I think we all know Dalvin was aging. He was certainly not terrible in 22. I think we all know that they rode the wrong horse last year, and they knew that quickly, and they didn't trust Chandler. And so what we have here is finally a commitment to go out and get a back that they like, who is versatile, which is the most important thing. At the end of the day, as we talked about on Purple Daily yesterday, I want to see Aaron Jones total yardage. Like, the rushing yards are great, but the game at Green Bay was perfect. About 93 yards on the ground, 40 something through the air. That's the perfect combination. I think where we get a little bit confused and where KO can get super aggressive is he was trying to dagger the Packers, and he probably caused some problems, but I don't think that means that he is abandoned the run now. And the identity of this team, both offensively and defensively, those stats don't surprise me, because this is just flat out a tougher team. Like, if you're going to have the identity that the Vikings want, you have to run. Like, the line has to be good. And so this team has definitely taken a step, I think, as far as playing football that not only works in the fall, but they're playing a style that works in the winter now. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about going into, potential playoff game, right? You got to go play in the December, or in this case, the January cold. Like, if you think about what they're doing, this translates. Run game, screen passes. You don't abandon the pass.
What makes you think the Vikings are going to play a cold weather game in January?
Just a hunch with the way things are going.
Really? I don't think they're going to be playing any cold weather games in January.
But if you have to, you can't assume anything.
I don't know why you think they're going on the road in January.
And they might not be. I hope they're not. I'm just saying they have built a team here that can be a wagon on the road.
Yeah, which might serve them well for 2025 if they take a dip after they, have the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs and the road runs through a 72-degree climate-controlled dome. Let's get to talking point number 3 here. State of Sam Darnold. Slinging Sammy. Darny Dimes. Darnold Schwarzenegger. The Ghostbuster.
Darnold Schwarzenegger's growing.
I like that one.
It's actually growing on me. I hated it first.
I'll be back. He's going to terminate the Jets. Oh, man. So here's where he ranks in some key quarterback categories. Traditional passer rating, number 1 in the NFL through 4 weeks. QBR, 3rd. Expected points added, 3rd. Yards per pass attempt, 2nd. Big time throw percentage, 10th. PFF grade, 14th. Because they actually had him as one of the worst graded quarterbacks this last week. It's interesting.
I can't.
So PFF definitely out of line with the rest of these measurements here, but it's all part of a bigger picture story. So, we've already touched on a little bit of it here, but I think maybe we just keep repeating this question once every couple weeks. To what extent is this for real here? That, with Case Keenum back in 2017, you always kind of knew he was like a 7th round pick. He's a career backup. And he's riding this magic carpet ride. It never felt like, this is the beginning of a 10-year run for Case Keenum.
And the coach ripped him weekly.
Yeah. But you're watching other similar examples, like Baker Mayfield is carving up the league right now.
Yep.
In Tampa. He did it again on Sunday. Geno Smith, kind of rickety last night, but Geno Smith now in year 3 as a starter for Seattle, and he was a 2nd-round pick, not nearly as highly touted as Sam Darnold. So there's a couple other case studies out there that are validating that, it might take a few years, but to what extent do you guys think this is for real after just 4 weeks?
I think it's for real. And I think I said this 2 weeks ago when we addressed this. I think this is very for real with O'Connell. And I hope for Sam's sake, he has turned a permanent corner here and become good and gets a multi-year contract and gets millions. However, I don't think it's here still. Like, I will, short of a Super Bowl, and I don't even know then if it fits into their picture of things, but short of a Super Bowl, I think it's fantastic. I think he definitely looks like a different guy. I think he's matured. I think he's learned. I mean, in some ways, the fact that he's probably become more guarded helps him now. And he does seem oblivious. I'll say this from day one here, unless he's doing a really good job of hiding it, he has seemed oblivious to the hate. So that probably is a great starting point. But I also think with the way he's trending, I don't think that the long-term plan is for him to stay here. I still don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, if they won a Super Bowl, he's back. Like, there's zero chance if they make a Super Bowl. If they make the Super Bowl, you think there's still a world where they say goodbye to Sam Darnold and still give it to JJ McCarthy?
Let's make this a weekly exercise.
Okay.
Let's do two scenarios. I'm gonna add this to the weekly notes here. If they make the Super Bowl, percent chance he's back.
70%. I'm not going to say certain, but 70, more than likely he's back.
50%.
I think it's like 75 or 80 if they make the Super Bowl.
If they make it and lose, I think it's about 50 to 55.
Some of it depends on did they lose because he went haywire or something.
I got one name for you guys. And this guy worked for or was the quarterback for a guy who O'Connell is very good friends with, Jared Goff. Jared Goff got to a Super Bowl.
Caught a touchdown pass last night.
He did, and he's awesome. and guess what? He was
Goff jeans, man.
He felt like a throw-in, like the Stafford trade was like, okay, here's Goff, take Goff. And look, I think we have to take a long, hard look at what Sam Darnold is going to make. Like if Sam would come back, hey, it's another 1-year contract, we'll give you 15 mil. Then yeah, I think he's back. But I think when you look at the big picture and what this team has planned, it's a very interesting conversation. That's all I'm going to say.
So we're gonna add this, if not weekly, once every couple weeks. And I didn't ask you the second part to this question. So part one is if they make the Super Bowl, what's the percent chance he comes back? And so I'll ask you this too: if they make the playoffs, but lose in the playoffs before they get to the Super Bowl, percent chance he comes back.
10%. Very low.
I hate to be the Judd and add caveats. Are you talking like first and done, like one and done, or like an NFC title game run?
They win.
Even I didn't
win a
do
playoff
that.
game.
Okay. No, they
Even
get
I didn't do that.
They get. I'll be specific. I'll change this every time you ask me going forward, just to make it fun. So they'll get a first round bye. They win at home in the divisional round, but then they lose in the NFC Championship game. And all of this is predicated on he continues to play at a solidified top 10 level throughout the entire year. Otherwise, it's not even obviously if he goes haywire, but they limp into the playoffs, they're not bringing him back. So this is all predicated on he's got a 100 plus passer rating. Mm-hmm. As long as we do this exercise,
50%. I still think it's a coin flip. Yeah.
So they lose in the, I'd say 25%.
I think I'm closer to Judd here. I think it's like 15, 20%. Well, it becomes a real conversation if they go to the Super Bowl. Then it's oh man.
So he's going to do, if he continues on this track, he's going to get a multi-year contract. Mm-hmm. So at that point in time, here's the question. What is the percentage that they keep McCarthy if they give at a minimum Darnold a 3-year contract? That becomes the question. Are you going to bail?
So is this they go to the Super Bowl?
Either one.
They give him whatever he gets second in MVP, and they give him a 3-year, $140 million contract.
Yes.
And would they just do the Packers thing and just park McCarthy for 2 more years and.
I don't know that makes sense because McCarthy coming back would have value. And if it's 3 years, now you're down to McCarthy's 5th-year option.
The irony of all this is, all the work that was done on this show to move off of the quarterback strategy that they had before, which is paying too much for a guy that doesn't carry your franchise. When you free those resources up, look what happens. And part of those free resources is you get to pay $10 million for Darnold, who performs better than the old guy, and you get to add these other defensive pieces. So I just want to continue to guard against getting back into the same strategy.
But that's my point.
If KOC and the engine are the reasons why Darnold's playing really well, then you got to be really, really careful about doing what the Giants did with Daniel Jones or what the Vikings did with Kirk Cousins.
And especially if you have a Ferrari behind Darnold. Like, that's my entire point is not I don't like Sam. My entire point is not he might be a huge fluke.
No.
It's built on the contract. And I did see that there was, I think it was yesterday, a Schefter report where he said that he has recently talked to two high-ranking executives who have said exactly what we've been saying for a long time, which is, yes, the quarterback is the most important position arguably in sports, but more teams are starting to think it makes a lot more sense to try to find one on a little bit cheaper than it does to pay one what the going rate is now, because the going rate for a lot of guys who are marginal top 10 to top 15 is actually crippling you, and they're just not worth it.
Yep. It's proven time after time after time. Okay, then the fourth talking point here is scoring offense by year. So points per game offense by year. And I think we have sometimes a warped perception in Vikingsville about how many top 5 off. We throw around like top 5, top 10 quarterback, top 5 this. It's very rare that the Vikings have had a top 5 scoring offense. Right now, they are 4th in scoring, and we're not even we're basically a quarter of the way through the season. So long way to go here. But if the season ended right now, the Vikings would have their first top 5 scoring offense since anybody?
Top 5? 2009.
09. Yeah.
09. Yep.
Yeah.
Before that, it was 2000. So they've only had one top 5 scoring offense in basically the last quarter century. They had 3 years in a row of 98, 99, 2000. The early Denny days, they had 1992 was a top 5 offense in 1995 with Warren Moon. And then a couple times in the 80s with Jerry Burns, 86 and 88, West Coast offense.
Yep.
And then a few times in the 60s and 70s. But it is, for all the talk about like Kirk Cousins, top 5 offense, this, that, the other, they've only done it once since 2000, and it was Brett Favre in 2009. So this would be a massive accomplishment if they could continue the rest of the year in the top 5.
So that one's intriguing because of the fact that you're doing it too. To go back to topic 1, you're doing it too with sort of a different thought process or structure. Like, it's interesting to see O'Connell's fingerprints now more than ever on this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like the first 2 years he got as much as he possibly could out of Kirk until Kirk got hurt last year. But I feel like the first 2 years, and it's not all Kirk, he was also, to go back in some ways, he was, in 2022, those aren't necessarily all his chips, right? Like, he had inherited a bunch, certainly some talent. And then last year, Kirk, they get off to the bad start. Kirk gets hot as hell, gets hurt, and now he's like trying to play Jaron Hall, Mullins, Dobbs. This is the first time I feel like we've really seen just a cohesive O'Connell plan put into place. And this, I mean, on the day that he was hired offensively, I don't think that you could have asked for more. I think if anyone had told you, hey, in 2024, this team is going to be doing X, Y, and Z with Sam Darnold at quarterback, you'd be like, oh, take that quickly. So, yeah, I think it's a very encouraging thing that with O'Connell's fingerprints now all over everything, that we're seeing this offense finally get to where we probably thought it should be at some point.
The more you look at this list too, major props to Dennis Green for having 5 top 5 offenses between 1992 and 2000 with really 5 different starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, look at the 92 team. His first team.
Let's pull that up.
Look at that roster.
Terry Allen was the starting running back.
Yeah, but I mean, he had, I think Gannon started some games, Salisbury perhaps. Like look
Chris
at the
Carter for sure.
Yeah, but look at the quarterbacks.
Yeah, they went 11-5, and then did they lose to Washington in the playoffs? Yeah,
yes,
Washington
at the Metrodome.
So yeah, that team started off 5-1. They're dropping 40 on the Bengals, 30 on the Lions.
Dennis was a very good offensive mind. Very good.
Back-to-back weeks on the road in division at the time at Chicago and Tampa, 38, 35 points. They had good defenses then too. But so they had Rich Gannon for 12 games as a starter, and then Sean Salisbury started the other 4 games. And their numbers weren't light them up, They combined for 17 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and like a 75 passer rating. But Terry Allen was a beast on the ground. That was Roger Craig at the end of his career in 1992.
Yep, that's right.
So they were running the ball, but yeah, did they score like a bunch of defensive touchdowns or something? Because it didn't look like on paper in terms of passing the ball. Let's see here. Chris Carter caught 53 passes for 681. I wonder if they had a bunch of defensive touchdowns that year. Let's see here. Oh yeah. They had 6 defensive touchdowns.
Wow.
In 1992. And they also had, it was all defense, man. They also picked off 28 passes.
Good.
I think that was,
Lord.
So they were just given offense short field after short field.
I think there was Vincey Glenn, I think, had a bunch of picks.
He had 5. Todd Scott had 5. And then Audrey McMillan had 8 picks on that team.
Audrey McMillan was a nice player at the time, yeah.
Anthony Parker had 3. Jack Del Rio, Carl Lee.
But I mean, that team was expected to do nothing in Green's first year and was really competitive. So that deserve a ton of credit.
Top 5 team scoring offense, but it was the defense that shoved 6 touchdowns into that equation.
Who was the DC? Kiffin at that time?
Tony Dungy was the DC.
Oh, he was here by then. Okay.
Monty Kiffin was the linebackers coach.
Okay.
Tom Moore, famous Peyton Manning coach, was the wide receivers coach.
Yep.
Brian Billick that was a coaching staff, man. Excuse me. And then Brian Billick was the tight ends coach.
Yep. Yeah, I think Jack Burns was
amazing.
So as I recall, when Green got the job, he came with the West Coast philosophy from Bill Walsh. And if I remember correctly, he hired a guy by the name of Jack Burns to be his OC from Washington. And he fired him fairly quickly. But what he did, which was genius, was he combined the West Coast with the Joe Gibbs. So he melded them. The offensive philosophies. And it worked, yeah.
Until he ran into Joe Gibbs in the playoffs.
Yeah. He was a good coach. I mean, I think it was I heard Gannon about a month and a half ago talking about how Green had no people skills, like he didn't embrace QBs, and but as far as a coaching guy, an X's and O's schemer on offense, he was really damn good.
Yeah. You know who else is really damn good?
Who's that?
Finch Home Solutions.
Oh. Talking to my friend Cody today. In fact, he is thrilled about 2 things. 1, the Vikings start, because you will not find a bigger fan of the purple. And 2, about the opportunity to fix anything electrical in your house. Flickering lights, guess what? Finch is there to fix it. A big project. Let's say it's fall and you've decided to install a hot tub because it's hot tub season. Ladies and gentlemen, it's perfect. Guess what? Finch is there to do all of the wiring necessary. And also, Finch is now a certified dealer and installer of Gemstone Lights, which is permanent holiday lighting. Now, here's the great thing. It's not only permanent, you can change those lights. So, let's say the Vikings continue to be red hot and they're playing big games on Fridays and Saturday nights. Light that house up in purple and let people know that you are a fan of the team. 612-357-2604, FinchHomeSolutions.com, FinchHomeSolutions.com. Light it up in purple, and then let's see that picture at Score North at Jay Zolgad on Twitter.
Amen. Hey, AG1 is right here. In fact, I'm holding one of these travel packs for those of you watching on the YouTube channel. AG1 has been a part of my stable for probably 7, going on 8 years now. AG1 contains prebiotics, probiotics, and gut-supporting ingredients to support your digestion, reduce bloating, and keep you regular, which are things that are important to me. In fact, in a research study, 80% of participants noticed less gas and bloating after 30 days of drinking AG1. Nutritional supplementation right here. Maybe you're not great at getting all the nutrients you need through, eating kale for every meal like Tom Brady did for 15 years. That's where AG1 comes in. If there's one product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1. 1 scoop or 1 travel pack mixed with your water in the morning or in the afternoon for a boost will give you the nutrients that your body needs. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/purple daily. That's drinkag1.com/purple daily. Okay, we will have Judd guess the PFF grades here shortly, but he is the most passionate Vikings fan we know. You can find him on Twitter/X at RandyVikes69. Randy in Cottage Grove. How did you take in the Vikings win over the Packers on Sunday, sir?
Well, first of all, I called it again, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, you did. You did call it.
That's now, what is that, 4 weeks in a row, or I guess 3, because I didn't do my first stud stable until we won 1-0. But 3 times now, I said, we're going to go out and we'll win again. And old Randy nailed it one more time. And that was what they call never in doubt, that game.
Yeah,
fact,
never. Not even close.
Oh, not a 6-point lead, it wasn't.
No, dude.
I'm sorry, Jeff, did you feel nervous? I didn't ever feel nervous.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I
Jeff.
apologize. You're right. Never a doubt. No nerves.
Here's how well you know. Here's how good you know it was going. At the as they say, at the late in that second quarter, before we as they say, muffed the punt, when it was 28-rip, a few of us we had the idea that even though we like those touchdown grape apes and yags for sacks is one of the things that we do, but we decided to get in what they call the Uber and go over to a Packer bar, and at halftime,
bold.
and a little bit nervous when they 28-7, but we thought we're running up the score, and we went in. And we went in and we started squawking, and we did the school, and we sang our Vikings the fight song inside this Packer bar, and we were removed by not a cop, but like a
You got kicked out of a Packer bar?
Well, you go in and you get rowdy. They yell, "Get the hell out of here!" A lot of people said, "What are you doing here? Get the hell out of here!" And we said, what we're doing, it's called scoreboard. And we point at the score. And we say, this is, and we did the school Vikings song, and we did a big school chant. It was, 7 or 8 of us. And then we got back into 2 different Ubers and, my buddy Doug's truck. And we went back to our bar and we finished off that game.
Wow. So you got, so what, like
Doug,
police or like security escorted you out of a Packers bar?
Was Doug driving?
As they say, like a bouncer. Whatever, that kind of a guy. He was just a fat guy, big fat guy in a Mark Chimura jersey. Who, by the way,
that's good.
That everyone knows that guy's a sleaze. Like to take a hot tub with the co-eds who maybe aren't quite of age, but it was a fun time. We had a good time. We went over, we got rowdy. I'm sure glad we pulled it out because now 4-0 feels good, and they're all going to think about that. They're going to think next time we gather for Vikes Pack, maybe we want to lock the door because old Randy and his crew might show up and start banging on it.
I hope Doug didn't drive. To go back to Doug's truck.
Doug has a super cab. It's got the back seat too.
Yeah,
Okay,
Judd.
I'll just move on.
It fits a lot of
Jeff's
guys.
going to move on.
It was a hell of a day, and as what they say, you can't lose a season in September, but you can get it on track pretty good, and I don't know how much better you can get on track than 4-0. So it's going to be 5-0 is my call. We're going to go over there, eat whatever that.
Just gonna make that
and
prediction
chips,
right now.
Haggis, whatever they eat, they'll eat it. Then they're going to eat Aaron Rodgers' lunch.
Yeah, those they do make sort of weird food over there in London, right? They just fish and chips for every meal. They wonder why their teeth are all crooked.
They got beer.
Oh, they got
beer.
beer.
Yeah,
They got lots of beer.
Is your passport in order?
I won't be going because I'm not allowed to have a passport at the moment. But if those of you who are going, make sure to make some noise.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you get things ironed out long term with your passport there. Are you ready for a stud stable here? A week 4 stud stable. Vikings 4-0, Randy.
Bet your ass I am.
Bet your ass. All right. Well, if you're ready, here is Randy in Cottage Grove. Randy Vikes 69, week 4 stud stable.
This is we are what they call undefeated. That's 4-0. The best team. If you got those devices, the Alexis or Siri or whoever, you say who's the best team in the NFL, it's going to probably answer you it should answer you the Vikes, because we're 4-0, and this starts with a guy who just I continue to say good things about this guy. I'm a little bummed we didn't get him into the end zone because he was planning, from what I hear, to do what they call the Lambeau leap. But this is a guy, Aaron Jones. Aaron, you came over here, you crossed the border, and this is now, I think, your third appearance in the stable. And I'm gonna get used to it. I think we all gotta get used to it, because when you take the rock and you hit the line, you do it with a purpose. You do it with a little bit of extra oomph, and that gets us a little extra snug. So Aaron Jones, you're a stud.
Yeah, you damn right he is.
Good start.
He's
Ray.
another weapon on offense. It was so good to have back. And I know he was kind of doing some things behind the wheel this summer. That's fine. But now he's back and he's focused. Maybe he can use Uber too. But the focus on what's on the field, J.A., because you are a game changer. You don't just catch balls. You can do ends around reverses. You can do direct snaps. I mean, we're going to get some gadget stuff going with him, I know, this year. But Jordan Addison is a playmaker. And in week 4, he's a stud.
That's right. Speedy Gonzalez. Yeah.
I got nothing more I can say that hasn't been said about this guy, but it's got to be said again. And he's just making everyone every week pop up. Who's going to pop up? Pace Jr. can't play? Not a big deal. We're going to next man up. And a lot of people don't, there are not a lot of household names maybe on this defense other than maybe Van Jinkels, who a lot of people are getting to know. But this is a defense now where any week, they could plug you guys in. They could plug Dexter in or Jeff in, and they can still make plays. And that's because Brian Flores has a system. Brian Flores has guys believing in his system. And Brian Flores has guys willing to go out there and lay it on the line for that system. Lay it on the line. Every week play a game at the bar, blitz or no blitz, right up until the snap. And you know what? Half the time, I'm losing. I'm buying shots because I don't even know. And
Jordan Love was trying to play that game on Sunday too, huh? Yeah, it didn't quite work well.
It's a tough game, and then those guys on the field are risking a lot more than a shot of Yag. So Brian Flores, you keep it going and you keep them guessing because you are a stud.
Yes.
And finally, here's a guy who doesn't get a whole lot of spotlight. He kind of lurks around to the side. A lot of people say, like, well, you know, he's young. He'll be a name someday. But he comes from some pedigree. He comes from some pedigree in Alabama. And as far as I can tell, he comes with a little bit of power in that leg. He's got a little bit what they call a cannon down below. And that's Will Reichert. Will the Thrill, as people are calling you. By the end of the year, they might be calling you Will the Thrill with a ring, because we're looking that good. And at 4-0, you're going to need some big-time kicks in the playoffs. And right now, if we don't make the playoffs, it'd be a shocker, okay? And I don't mean the kind of shocker you knew about in college. I mean, it would be a shocker to everyone because we're 4-0. So Will the Thrill, you're the reason why. And this week, welcome for the first time in the NFL to the stable because you're a stud.
Jeez, Randy. And he's gone. There he goes.
We really disintegrated towards the end.
I don't know what's going on there. Well, there's your week 4 stud stable, Jeff. Presented in part by Prize Picks.
I'm sure they're proud.
I'm on Prize Picks right now. It's not the Prize Picks you knew in college. That's for sure. Let's see what the Sam Darnold more or less is right now. So you can go on Prize Picks, and you can win up to 100 times your money on the Prize Picks app with as little as 4 correct picks. So you select between 2 and 6 players. Sam Darnold, 230.5 passing yards. Aaron Rodgers, 223.5. I don't know if old A-Rod is going to be able to get to 223.5. But you place your entry, and boom. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code PURPLEDAILY and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code PURPLEDAILY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. And thanks to Nicolay Law for supporting Purple Daily on a daily basis as well, helping to make this a 365-day-a-year Viking show. They are the personal injury law firm, exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily, and they are here to help you get the compensation you deserve if you or a loved one has been injured or in an accident. Start your path to winning at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY, Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. In the last few minutes of the pod here, we've kind of spoiled the offensive PFF grades.
Well, the Darnold one you did.
Darnold.
You gave me like 2, I think.
Well, why don't you give us? We'll do defense for sure. So you know that Darnold's not one of them. Give us the top 3 offensive performers here. Judd guesses the PFF grades.
All right, Jordan Addison's one. One of them, I should say.
Number 3, 76.8.
Aaron Jones has to be one of them.
Ooh, 4th.
Again.
4th.
Again, faulty work. All right, Justin Jefferson.
Number 1, 82.7.
All right, so now I've got 1 strike. I've got, oh boy. Always the question is there an offensive lineman who like sneaks in, because you don't really appreciate their play as much as we probably should when they play well. But there's another guy that had a really effective game as well. I'll fire this one at you. Josh Oliver.
Josh Oliver. Kind of middle of the pack, 63.4.
See, now the question is there an offensive lineman in here? I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Or, yeah, they might go with him. All right. Jalen Naylor.
Ooh. He was 5th.
Okay.
5th. Christian Darrisaw is who
I
you're
was
looking
gonna,
for there.
damn it,
Christian Darrisaw,
I
81.1.
should have stuck with that one.
Okay, defense. Let's start with, give us the 3 best performers. 15 snaps or more.
Okay. Cam Bynum.
Old Cam Bynum. So hard to tell. He was
He did get beat.
middle
He
of the
did
pack.
get beat late. He made some nice plays. Andrew Van Jinkles.
Van Jinkles. No.
Mr. Van Jinkles dance.
I think just because we're not going to do all 6 here, he was the worst graded defensive player by PFF.
He was?
Despite having 3 pressures, 3 quarterback hurries, and 3 stop tackles in this game. They hated him in coverage, where he gave up 4 receptions for 47 yards.
Okay.
Including 22 yak. I don't know. Seems fishy to me.
Oh boy. All right. Harrison Phillips.
No, he's kind of mid-pack here. It is hard to tell with this defense,
Yeah, you got
what's going on.
Bring so many guys in and different guys.
The number 1 graded defensive player was Kamu Grugier-Hill, 83.8. Byron Murphy Jr., one of his best games as a Viking probably, 74.1, despite the fact that he also was targeted 15 times.
That's a ridiculous grading too. He made a couple of plays late, but that's a ridiculous grading.
I motioned to, by the way, the 3rd highest graded defensive player was Jonathan Bullard, who had a nice day in the run stopping game.
Yeah.
I motioned to change the name of this segment to Judd Bitches About PFF.
Yeah.
I still like Judd coming up with his own grading system.
PFE, Pro Football Error. That's what I'd like to rename this place. That place. Pro Football Error.
They also had Patrick Jones II as the 2nd worst graded defensive player. He had 4 pressures, a sack, 2 stop tackles. I'm trying to guess
grades that at times make no sense. Sam Darnold being last is a... Sam Darnold being last and Byron Murphy Jr. after that game so he's getting more credit because he's targeted a ton?
I don't know. I don't know what their secret sauce is.
Yeah, well, I feel like their secret sauce has run its course.
Oh, man. What an episode here today. What an episode. State of the Offense Tuesday. Trenches with Boone is on the feed. I know Meat and Potatoes with Judd and Forno is going to be coming at you as well.
Today.
And then write that down Wednesday. Thursday on the horizon. Vikings going to London. This is your home for daily Vikings entertainment. Purple Daily. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.